So, how are you living, Kate?
How am I living? I am living, and that's a good thing in 2020.
You've been quite busy lately, though. You're just telling me you guys have moved into production and that. So, yeah, what's your life like these days? Because you guys have done so much, and we'll get into the history of everything. But what's your typical day like these days?
So, I mean, my typical day is gosh, and that's the thing. The backstory does lead to where it is now, is because COVID really changed a lot of things in terms of us and what we do within the comedy industry and within the entertainment industry as a whole. And so COVID in a way helped us sort of break into new territories, which I think it did for a lot of people, but sort of solidified where we really wanted to go with our creativity, if I can rather put it that way. And, we've been doing some things, and luckily, a beautiful client slipped into our laps, and we have been able to produce some really cool content for them. So a typical day is literally sitting in thousands of meetings and having many brainstorms, but then also going off to produce content shoots, and then still manage the Goliaths and whatever other comics I can find jobs for. So manage those things. And obviously with a team of people. So, I can't sit in meetings by myself. Then after all of that, then my kids come home from school and we've got to do homework, and then we have dinner, and then we watch TV.
Nice. And you're not heading out late at night as much these days, I assume.
No, not at all, not at all, not at all. When COVID hit, we closed all our venues, and now is the first time where we finally are back properly doing a tour now. And I mean, I still won't be out at night, but the comedy scene as well in Joburg has also took a bit of a knock and a dip, and it's difficult to get out to those shows. So not as much as before at all.
Yeah, I guess we'll chat a bit about the evolution of the scene. But
Mm.
first, let's talk about you. From what I understand, you studied communications, right? But you wanted to be a journalist.
Yes, I wanted badly to be a journalist when I was in high school, and it was the only thing that I really felt connected to. But my mother said to me, "Oh, hell no, you are not." I've seen journalists that sit and wait for their higher ups to die, literally, and then they still don't get those jobs, and you just sit in a pit of depression, covering terrible news all the time and being broke. So don't go down that path. Find something else. And then the closest thing to that was communications and corporate communications and PR, and that was what I did. After I studied, I worked in PR for a corporate company for 3 years, and then that was the end of my corporate career.
And ever since then, it's been Goliath and Goliath.
Ever since then, so a little bit of
It's
it
been like
was
12
like,
years now, right?
and then it's been, yes, and then it's been 12 years, almost 13 years of this year is 13 years of our Wednesday, and of starting those shows, and 12 years of having a company. Yeah.
Okay, so the corporate stuff, like, obviously led to all of this, like, in some ways, and that, like, you developed a skill set that you could use. But
And
yeah, how did like it come to this though? Like, because I know you and Jason are brother and sister, you and Nick are cousins, and then Donovan's just a Goliath. Like, he's just not quite part of the immediate family.
yes, no, not immediate, no, but we found out recently it's like a great uncle and a great uncle, something like that, one of those sorts of situations. So there is a
A long
relation,
lost
but
cousin.
yeah, it didn't even matter to us after all the years that we've been together. But it sort of came about where I had left my corporate job to continue traveling, and I was about to go and start teaching English in Japan. But then it was also the year of that huge tsunami there. So they had pushed out our teaching, what do they call, posts to later in the year. But then I fell pregnant. So
Oh
then I
wow.
couldn't go to Japan. And at that stage, I then found after I'd had my baby, I found this stupid job at a really stupid company, and I hated it so much. I was in a communications department for a financial company, and it was horrible. It was so disgusting. And I hated every moment of it. And at that same time, Jason and Nicholas had just started comedy, and Jason had been sort of emceeing for a while and was running his own books and sending his own invoices and doing his own bookings and that sort of thing. And my mom actually said, Kate, why don't you've got experience from your last corporate job working with talent. Why don't you just take this over for Jason? And then he had just met Donovan, and Donovan had also started doing some corporate jobs. So why don't you just start helping them? And I started on my mother's dining room table doing this job and doing their invoices and doing their diaries. And from there, it grew to what we have today, where I sit at my own dining room table now, and I run the business.
I mean, it seems like your mom's like pretty smart there. Like she's guided you twice in like some pretty good directions.
Yes. So, I mean, my mom has always been, she's always worked and she's always had a career. And, so we got a good sense of you have to work for whatever you want in life, but it doesn't ever have to be boring and it doesn't ever have to be a chore. So we were really encouraged to do what we wanted to do, but with a lot of guidance in terms of, this is, life is hard and going through it. And also just knowing the situation. My mother was in the entertainment industry. So she also knew and she saw starving actors and these presenters that looked so glamorous on TV. And then they're driving off in these old, clapped out little Golf ones, with zero money holes in their shoes. But, that's the lifestyle that people wanted. And she was just like, just be wary of it and have something. You can do it, but have something that's a backup, and that you can have some stability with. And so that's why, I studied corporate communications, and after studying, I went overseas, and she was very open about that as well. Take your gap year, live your life. And
Where did you go?
when I came to find a job, I lived in Holland for a year.
Oh, sweet. Like
Yeah.
that's dope.
It was a long time ago. It was very dope, and it was really changed my life and my viewpoint on what I wanted out of life. And also just made me appreciate home so much. I wanted to move away for a long time, and I think I still could, but it just solidified how beautiful our home is.
I mean, that's funny because you're a Joe Burger, like, and you went to Holland, and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful.
Look, we live in a really beautiful place. I love Joburg. I will always defend Joburg as one of the best. I won't say each city has its own attributes, but Joburg is my place. I'm born and bred Joburg girl. So. And my parents are from Durban as well. So that's also, we spent a lot of time in Durban growing up. It was never really my fave. Winter Durban is amazing. But summer Durban can hold the phone. But
I agree with you 100%. Like that's my goal is if I can live here like 6 months of the year and those 6 months are winter, like that's the dream for me. Like
exactly.
But anyway, as you were saying,
off topic, yes. So my mom's always really instilled that to us. Work hard, play hard, have a good balance, but do what you love, and also use your brain, use common sense. Throughout. It wasn't intentional though. Both Jason and I had jobs and, Jason had a career that he was also looking to, but this feels more right than anything.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have definitely made it work. But do you find, like, I know you're quite funny yourself and you've got like a good sense of humor, but do you find you have a natural aptitude for the more corporate side of things, for the more, the paperwork and all of that stuff? Or is it something you had to learn over time?
I mean, a lot of my job I had to teach myself how to do. I mean, I would, I never, my corporate job set me up for success. And I used it as such because when I got I worked at a radio station, and when I got there, it was, like fast paced and go, and like really thrown in the deep end. And I knew nothing. And one day I went to my boss and I said to her, like, I don't know what to do. Like, there's no answer yet. She was like, no, that's not the answer. Go away and find the answer. There are no problems. There are only solutions. And I had to put my panties on and I had to go and do the work. And, that taught me so much. And I still repeat that to this day, to people that start working with me and to people that I mentor. when I can, that you've got to still do the work, and it's any job, as glamorous and as cool as it seems, even comics have to sit down and type an email at some point, have to do an invoice at some point, and have to know how a bank account works, and simple, basic, common sense life things, and I think once you also get that my title is MD, but I still set up a meeting request. I still do a recon. I still have to check the diary and put meetings into diaries and do all of those things. It's just part and parcel, but I don't have a boss that I have to report to. So it makes me even more keen to do those things. And I think, having a natural affinity to something, yes, the bulk of my job is admin, and I can do those things. It's very simple for me to produce something quickly and to just put something together, call a talent, get a makeup artist, sort out the camera, make sure everything's sorted. It does come easy to me, but people often forget and they just think, I'm just a secretary. I can't do all these things. Whereas you're a big cog in the wheel to make things work and to give talent and to give people that are shooting or whatever you're doing the best opportunity to execute the best product. So, I think if you want it to work, it will come naturally to you. And if you don't, then it won't.
I mean, fair enough. Although I also think like a lot of creatives aren't, don't have those skills. Basically, like that shit
No,
terrifies us. Like the
no,
idea of reading and
absolutely.
understanding a contract is like basically
Oh
higher grade
no,
maths.
absolutely.
Like,
No, that's a different skill set. And I think that's also where the lines get blurred, is because a simple admin task is not, reading a contract is not a simple admin task.
yeah,
Like, I send contracts to my lawyer if I don't understand the wording and the phrasing. And for me, I mean, the most important part of working in anything is getting that contract sorted and making sure you're all above board and stuff. And I fully understand the creative just wants to make this nice thing. They don't want to be bogged down with reading about payment terms and the terms and conditions of working with this
yeah. Like
client
we'd
and that
rather
sort
not
of
do
stuff.
the job if we have to like read a
100%.
contract.
100%. I would not want to get on stage and hold a mic and have the light on me. Finish and go. Like, that's
Fair
my, you
enough.
know what I mean? I can make jokes off the stage. I can make jokes probably better than anybody off the stage, but put that light on me and I die. And so, I think I fully understand the skill. And sometimes that's why people don't understand why creatives can't do these little tasks, is because they don't understand the value or the skill and the talent and there's a word for it. It's I just can't get to it, but it's a special talent to be able to get on stage and make a joke and make it make sense and make it feel natural and make people think like you haven't said this 17 times in front of the mirror. You haven't written it and rewritten it and rewritten it and then phoned your other comedian friend and said, listen to this now. How do you think it will work this way? You haven't done all of that. For me, that's the true beauty of a good comic, is I can hear that joke 7 times, but it feels like it's new every single time because it's done so well and so naturally, and it just fits. And that's also the beauty about comedy, is that, and I suppose even with an admin sort of job, and the job that I do, is that you can't fake it.
No.
You will be caught out. You cannot fake doing this thing.
No.
It's not. It seems easy from the outside,
Yeah, no,
but
you
it
fall on
really.
your ass many, many,
Oh yeah.
many times. But that's the thing, you've obviously got a clear passion for it. And it's also what I think is it's weird because I didn't necessarily see it when I was younger, is like how necessary people like you are like you know, in making it show business, you know?
Mm.
Like I, come from like a more underground and DIY scene and stuff, and like have been wary of corporate elements in comedy and that. But as I've gotten older, I understand like just how necessary it is to have, the numbers and the law and like all of that sort of stuff, and like paying tax and like having companies registered and all these different things. Like
Yeah.
just, like I don't know, I was adverse to it at first. And like I think, yeah, it's really important to have people like you who guide comedians and be like, no guys, this is how it's done,
100%. And I think, when I first started, Jason said to me, okay, you need to be the bully for us because we can't be the bullies. We have to be nice. We have to smile all the time because we need to get the repeat jobs. And these people are expecting these happy, jovial people. And I can't be on stage today and then sending you an invoice for money tomorrow and asking you how was my performance last night. It just doesn't seem like it's formal.
Yeah.
It's like, my uncle just asked me to come perform at his company's, staff picnic today. So we'll just jump on that quickly. And it adds a layer of a professionalism. I think it also allows people, not only clients, but just other comics and other promoters, brands, advertising agencies, etc., to see that there is a layer of professionalism and that you are taking this seriously and that they will be taken care of as well. For us, it's always been a value add, and for us, it's always been a case of, and how we've always spoken to guys about understanding the value of it is, think of it as investing in yourself. As an entrepreneur, being a comedy, you are one-man band, and you need to market yourself. You need to put yourself out there, and you need to do all these things that a normal company would do to sustain themselves. And adding on a value add where your client has somebody to call at any moment. They can send the contract. They can be at ease that, everything is above board and that the tax man is not going to come bite them back in the bum because they've got, tax issues now because of PAYE and you not wanting to pay your PAYE and they've paid it all over to you and. So I can be this little naggy person and ask for all these niggly things, and you as the talent can arrive and say, right, guys, let's kill this event and let's do the thing, and they see, the value in having all of that niggliness. Because also, as a comic, you guys and just talent in general don't want to deal with a marketing manager that is stressed out and that has down before and had somebody waste their time before. So now they are super on high.
Yeah, they booked you at the last minute as well.
You know what I mean? They're getting flashbacks of the last time where the CEO was looking at them and saying, why did you hire this person? So, and I understand that, but I'm able to then calm them down and say to them, don't worry, the act will come, and they come and they destroy, the gig and walk away, and everybody wins and everybody's happy. So it is a great value add, and I think
wait, I do need to ask, with you saying that, does it always, do they always destroy? Do the crowds
No.
What's it like dealing with that? Because corporates are, considered to be some of the worst gigs to do as a comedian.
Absolutely. There's value in it. For us, corporate work really sustains us and allows us to do all the fun, exciting things that we can do. So that's how we look at it as. And there are horrible horror stories.
But what do you have to deal with, when it comes to that? Do you ever have people who are booked be like, what the fuck was that? Or do you deal with
a lot of the time, I must say with the guys, and I must say with most of the guys that I book and work with, and this is why I'm very picky, is that I don't often get a, why did you send me this person? How did they, why, I hardly get those bad, but I have in the past. And the nice thing is that because of the reputation that I've built and that we've built with the comics that I use, is that they know it's not me. And it's happened before where a client has come back to me and said, I know it's not you, Kate, but wow, we will never, ever, ever use that comic again, and given me a whole long story about that comic. And I too then in turn cannot ever use that comic again because I just can't take that risk. A lot depends on, and the whole comedy industry can feed off or cannot feed off somebody that did a shit job. Sorry, excuse my language, but somebody that did a bad job at a corporate gig, because then they could say, right, we're done doing comedy at corporates and let's just stick to bands.
Yeah, that's fair. I typically, I don't do your typical corporate gigs, but I will do festivals and emceeing work and stuff like that, and because I know how to do that job. But the 100%. Idea of talking to 1,000 people working for F&B, actually, I would ruin that, 100%. I think that's definitely the kind of shit that like I just didn't, get into comedy for that. But like that's the cool thing is like you are able to facilitate things for different levels of clients and in different ways. Cause I know you're working quite a bit with Lindy, and then I've also like I chatted to Robbie, and he said, "Oh no, like Kate called me up because there was this gig in Florida, and he got to do this thing with Red Bull and Ford and stuff like that, and then it was like a quick 2 day thing." And
Yeah.
yeah, I guess like how did it build to all of that where you've got all these people and you're no longer just like trying to get people gigs? It's people like how did it scale up like that basically is what I'm getting to.
So I think a lot of it scales back from just the work ethic and the work that we do. We do have a lot of repeat clients, and I have a lot of clients that trust me in terms of use this person, you won't be sorry, and trying to push people that I believe in, and then people that I think need the support in those areas. It's and that's the thing. I don't like. I work with Lindy, I work with Robbie, I work with Tabiso, I work with Prince, I work with Eugene, I work with Loyiso Gola, I work with Qdube, I work with Wazi Kunene, I work with Coven Goldstone. So it really
Those are some pretty
just
good names.
sorry, say that again.
Those are some pretty good names. Like I know those
You
names.
know what I
I like
mean?
those names.
And that's the thing. And if I wanted to, I could, if I have the job. But it always came back to the first, one of the things that I used to say when we started our agency back in the day was, I want to be the first person that people call when they think of comedy, whether it's talent or a show, or I want to be that person. And so now with my clients and with certain agencies and that sort of thing, I become a comedy sort of talent consultant or talent management, where I can direct which talent goes to which piece and who would fit here. And, a lot of it has always been for me also growing younger talent, and trying to support the open micers and the guys coming into the industry and, giving them the right platforms to work on. And that's like with Lindy, especially, I think, it's especially because she's a colored female, there's a connection there immediately.
Sure.
And they always has been with us because also she is fucking funny. She is hilarious, and she deserves the platform. And I think
100%.
females in comedy just do get a bit of a knock. There are so few of them,
And there's a
and
lot
and
of
and
creepy fucking
and
dudes.
you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things is that it is so male skewed. When I came into the industry, you've got to shout to get your voice heard and to be taken seriously. And I literally had to put my head down and do the work in order for people like Loyiso Gola to respond to a message that I sent to him, or to answer the phone when I phone him, because he knows I'm not going to waste his time, because he
Yeah.
knows I'm not to just use his name to get to do the big festival or to do the big show. I have a vested interest in comedy itself before my job and before the things that I do. And, I think what also gives a bit of an edge and makes a huge difference is that I'm friends with so many comics and I understand both sides of the spectrum. So
Yeah.
I understand from an audience perspective, and I understand from the comic perspective what they go through. And I understand comics as human beings, which is a whole other sphere of people. And so
Yeah, it's literally a bunch of mentally ill people.
and to break those molds, because comics are very, 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 sometimes very shy, sometimes very introverted, tortured souls that don't easily connect with people. The connection is superficial at
Yep.
best. And people don't get that, because laughter is such a beautiful connector of people. You feel like we are besties. It's like when you meet somebody on a drunken night out and you wake up in the morning and you're like, why do I have this friend request in my Facebook? Person you met last night, and you know what I mean, you had this deep conversation with this person, but actually you could never get on in real life. And that's what people don't see about comics. And I think having that sort of advantage gives me the advantage to work with them better and to do the job that I do.
Yeah, it seems like you're quite empathetic to what we go through, basically.
I'd hope so.
No, like I mean, it's something that like I don't necessarily hear. I mean, I guess I don't chat to like many agents and managing directors and people who do what you do basically, but like you get the feeling, especially like if you look at like American TV, I guess, and even if you just listen to a lot of podcasts the way I do, like you hear a lot of horror stories about agents, basically, like how, they don't
Mm,
care like about getting clients work and stuff. Like, you have to do it all yourself, like basically. And like, I don't know. So I think it's cool to hear from you like that. Yeah, you do genuinely care. It comes through. It's not like you're just saying it. It's like, it
yeah.
tells in the work as well. Like I've seen it, that's also a thing. Cause like, I've been skeptical of, yeah, basically, management agents, etc.
Mm, mm.
from the
And you should.
outside, yeah, for a long time. But yeah, to me, I think you've earned like, the respect basically.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And you should be, because there are scallums in this world. Like, and the thing is, the atmosphere and the landscape between American and South African entertainment is so vast, but
True.
yet we have people and agents and managers trying to replicate that. Whereas the scene is so much different here. The work is so much different. The money pay scales are so much different that it really is a very, very different thing. And that's, one thing when we started in the industry, we used to chat. I used to chat a lot to Osman from Blue Blood. And one of the times he said to me, there's a big, big difference between an agent and a manager. And firstly, we have to define what that means in this country. Like it's not the meaning that it has in the States, because that's a different ecosystem. And I mean, they have full-blown stock exchange industries based on this entertainment industry. And here we are just trying to get a small 20,000 Rand grant from arts and culture, and you still can't even do that. But, like it's just about really looking at it from a different way. And unfortunately, the minute, there is this sort of talent and entertainment thing there, people see cash cow.
Yep.
And they see, and I've heard horror stories of comics going to gigs, and the client says to them like, yo, you're right, eh? Like, how do you charge so much? And they'll ask them like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, no, we paid like this much for you. And they're like, but that's double of what I charged. So there are many, and I have honestly closed doors to a lot of agents that could be giving us work, but wow, the dodginess and the percentages that they lie about. And just like we've had agents that made a website
Oh, I
for
know about
Jason.
this kind of stuff. Yeah.
And yes, and they've done it to, I think they did it to Celeste as well, and a couple of other guys. And then they make these websites, and then when you go and talk to them about it, then they say, no, well, you have to pay us for the domain. You've got to pay us 30,000 Rand if you want this domain. And the thing is, there's no law to stop them. Anybody can make a website about anything.
Yeah.
So they can have these domains, and then because they're waiting for you to get to a point where you need this domain, you're forced to buy it, and there's many people, like, I mean, that it's happened to where, like, one, I won't mention names, but one person, like, we were actually trying to secure a name, and as we were trying to secure that name, then it was being bought, and we tried to think it was gone already. So it was like a bidding war for a website name, and it's insane.
Yeah, I think that's like a whole like other aspect. That's not even just like to comedy related,
Yeah.
but like
No,
there's
100%
people who,
overall. And that's
yeah.
why talent don't trust agents and don't want agents, because so many people have been robbed before.
Well, that's the thing with the website thing. I know in South Africa, like there's all these other websites that have every comedian on there, but like they don't
Yes.
represent them. Like,
Nope.
and if you call them, they'll
Nope.
just be like, oh no, that person's not available, but we have this person. Like,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yep. And they don't even check. They don't even know. And so that's the thing. So I at one point did try, when people came through and said, oh, I found your details on this website or whatever, I tried to do like a sweep and then start sending mails to people to say, you don't have permission to use these pictures or this bio, or where did you find this stuff? And a lot of the times they don't respond.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously it's costly to try and find them and stuff. But sometimes, they do respond. Sometimes they do say, yes, we'll take them down. Sometimes they don't. But, we also just came to the conclusion that you'll never be able to take, the internet, you just can't defeat it. So you'll never be able to take them all down, but you just have to also be strong and sometimes take it in the teeth when you get these inquiries and just say, no thanks, my ethics come above this. And, those people will eventually be flushed out of the system. I do believe that.
Yeah, and then it's also on the other side of it, you guys have created a brand, like the Goliath and Goliath brand is something that people come to specifically now. So it's not like, people are just going to be Googling book a comedian, they're going to go to you because they know that's what you do.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a listener question, which will lead us into the clubs and stuff. This is from Bonga Musa Zondi. And old Musa, he's a old Durban comedian. He's up in Joburg now. And he says, looking at the current comedy landscape, how have you adapted to the ever-changing environment? And will we ever have a comedy club in South Africa again?
You'll have to ask somebody else for the comedy club. We unfortunately can't take that risk again. And we're glad we took it. It was a beautiful ride. I think it really elevated comedy as a whole, and gave comics, just hope and inspiration and aspiration, to do the same, hopefully. But it's just too risky. If I win the lotto, maybe we could look into something. But the landscape has completely changed, and that's why, we have now, the guys are going on tour. Donovan has taken a step down from comedy for the next while, just to focus on content creation and more creative stuff.
He's good at that stuff.
Changes. Yes, no, exactly. It's still a great talent, and the comedy still comes through.
Exactly.
At least. And so the guys, Jason and Nicholas have developed a podcast, which now leads into a comedy tour. And so I think that's the way forward, is to just do these ad hoc. We found some great venues, and, we still have our venue partners and that sort of thing, but it's going to be more traveling and taking comedy around the country, as far and wide as we can go, but nothing permanent for now, unfortunately. From our side, a lot happening, and a lot of guys are building rooms. Joburg is, a little bit touch and go at the moment.
Yeah, Bioscope rocks, but it seems like they haven't been able to really develop anything else that's consistently good at the moment.
Yeah, and just that feeds also, I think, the majority of the comedy population. There's a lot of Vernac, a lot of beautiful Vernac shows that are happening, huge shows in big shows, big arenas, smaller shows. We had a light partnership with the Artistry for a weekly comedy show, but we decided that we prefer to rather do the shows that we are going to do now, instead of the weekly, and rather do more experiential type stuff.
Sure.
What we also find is that with audiences, to get them to spend money on a ticket is quite a hard thing, and it's even worse than before. Before it was quite hard, but even now there's so much else that they could do.
But do you think that's a specifically Joburg thing? Because I know in Cape Town, it seems quite different.
No, Cape Town is absolutely different, but Cape Town also has a show culture.
Yeah.
And they've got a scene where there are a variety of shows all over Cape Town all the time.
Yeah, there's 3 gigs on a Tuesday that are all full.
Exactly. Joburg, the theatres are in town. Not many people want to go to town. Not many productions can afford Monte Casino every time for their productions, So it's quite, Joburg is quite sparse at the moment. These guys, like Samoka, the champion of comedy shows, has been pushing and still has, a number of shows. And those are the spaces that we need to be populating. And, we need to work together again, because I think just before COVID, we really were coming together as a community. And it really is up to all of us to band together and sort of find great venues and do regular shows and perform for each other and, promote each other's shows, push for each other, but we'll get there,
But,
hopefully.
but I also think your idea of the touring's importance as well. It's something we're gonna do, like, because we've come together like as a crew here in Durban of comedians, called Not Quite Right, and like we are going to be touring, around the country basically, like because it's small to to the small little towns and stuff like that as well.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
that's also the thing. It's like we can complain about like the big cities and stuff, but like there's other places where people actually will come out and who will appreciate what you're doing because they don't have. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have exactly. So they will come out and they will make sure. So, and that's the thing. I mean, we've now doing our tour. We are going to Nelspruit, which I'm really excited about, to Bloemfontein, to Kimberley. So we're trying to really hit as many as we can. And then once we've done, so we're doing PE, Cape Town, Durban, East London, Bloemfontein, Kimberley, and Nelspruit, and then we come back to Joburg in December. But then from next year, starting to do like the Woesters and the Clarksdorps and
Okay.
we'll do Wild Coast, but like the smaller towns where they really like Pietermaritzburg. I mean, they get a lot, but Ladysmith, those sorts of
Yeah.
places where they don't get entertainment. So any form for them is the most exciting.
Yeah, no, I've seen like the Ladysmith town hall's been packed out a few times with like Durban
Yes.
comedians. Like so it's quite cool to see that there are these. I mean, I don't want to use the word markets, but like that's basically it, but it's like it's also cool to get to do that. It's like I've done comedy like up and down the coast here in KZN, and like it's awesome to be able to bring some of these ideas and jokes and stuff to different places and to connect with people who you might not even think. Like I remember doing a show in Ramsgate at the Ramsgate Books Festival, and like my stuff's pretty dirty, and I was like, you know what, let me just go for it anyway. Like I've got stuff that like I can do that's cleaner and that, but I was like, let's see what happens. And it's like a bit of an older, more intellectual crowd, and they enjoyed it, and bought me drinks after the show, and like it was such a cool thing of like just this experience of like getting to be with people who you don't get to be around, and getting to tell them jokes and share ideas. I think it's such a cool experience.
Absolutely. It really, really is. We're so blessed to be able to do what we do because like Nicholas always says, comedy takes him to places that he never ever imagined he would see, and to meet people that you would never ever imagine, and if he could do it for free he would. But unfortunately we've got to pay bills, and that's sort of the blessing and the curse of it
You know what's weird
is
about that is I literally just listened to a podcast yesterday with Christian Cage, who's a wrestler, and someone told him like, like, would you do this for free? And he was like, yes. And he was like, then the money you get paid is basically for the inconveniences that you have to
yes,
face to do this.
100%.
Like it's the
100%.
travel, it's the being away from family, it's the late nights, it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. The sacrifice. Those lonely nights when you're doing your solo shows and there's nobody else there and you're just by yourself, and those odd occasions where there aren't any other comics and it's just you and the audience, and you have nobody to banter with.
Yeah.
Those are the hard times. That you don't get the recognition for, or the payment for, but it is sort of the price. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, and then let's chat a bit about. I want to chat about the comedy clubs, because that was such a sick thing that you guys did. And I mean, I loved Melville. I never got to do Goliath and Goliath, but I checked it out like once or twice, and it was a sick room. But like, I loved what you guys did with Melville, and like, I thought it was such like it was just a perfect concept, a perfect little room. I mean, obviously, like I'm sure you guys are like more proud of Goliath and Goliath because it's such a it felt like the Comedy Store in some ways, like with the same setup. Like,
so, and I mean, that was also just, we had worked to a point to build the brand to a point where we could do something like that, and we could take those big balls and try and wave them around, and it was an amazing ride. And I think just for comedy in general, like to see like, the comics hanging out, and that was for us, what killed us more than anything was that space that everybody had to come to. So guys would come after their corporate gigs on a Thursday night or a Friday night and come and hang out with the other comics. And so it was really special in that regard, and special in, the things that we got to do was just insane.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Melville was always our dream. So Melville was always the place that we could mold to be exactly what we wanted it
Yeah,
to
it's the
be.
perfect
Like,
comedy
you know,
room.
like, and that's exactly like no tables, no food, no fuddles, no fuss, just comedy. Like, touch the person's shoulder next to you and feel the laughter going from shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder across the whole room.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's exactly what it was. It was really our dream space, like an easy, small room for guys to do their one-man shows, to do little concept shows, to do, like, we had a little collaboration with John Barker where we did table reads to some of the movies he
Oh,
was
wow.
working on. And you know, it was a
That's
thing, and we
cool.
did it for a couple of months. It was so cool. And we invited audience members to come through and listen to the table reads and give input. And it was really like, you know, we connected afterwards and had like chats about the script and the piece that they wrote and that sort of thing. So it was really, really, you know, awesome. I mean, we had comedian workshops for GBV in the space. Like, it was really the dream come true. And then COVID just came, and, you know, it was the dream come true. It was very expensive as well. It wasn't cheap to run, but, you know, we were working to get there. And then COVID came and sort of took away all that capital, all that we were going to put into it. And we had to make a hard decision, because we wanted to keep it going, but we had to make the decision, because if to keep it going meant keeping it closed, but paying rent every month. And, you know, not having a full income
And not knowing
as
when
from
anything
before.
was coming back.
100%. You know, you just didn't have a clue. So for our own safety and the safety of our families, and I think of our brand, we had to take that risk. And, you know, I think it will always be, if we could, in a heartbeat, we would go back and, you know, do it again, start again, push again. I think we'd learned so much to be able to do it. But yeah, no, it's somebody else's turn now to take that baton.
I mean, in some ways, I do see like because one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you also talked about like mentoring people and that, and what I wanted to ask you about was, do you do that like with not comedians? You know, because you said you got other people working with you now.
So yes, I do. So I mean, I'm a part of. I went through a lovely course, a business development course, where I had mentors, and I had people to engage with from a business perspective, and it helped so much. Like, you know, just taking, because comedy can be so frivolous and fun, and, you know, you forget about that. You know, you're building something that needs to last, so that my children can go to university. You know, and you sort of building this legacy, but also especially with the work that I do, I see the opportunity for others. And I've always, you know, been one that, you know, I want to grow people, and I want to see people do the best that they can do, because I've always had great opportunities to do that. And I do. So, I mean, I've had many people that have come in and started working under me, and have had to learn the same way that I've had to learn, you know, and that I've had to sort of mentor. I've had my head, I'll call her my head of production now, Kay, who came in as a junior producer, and my production assistant, but now 2 years later is running productions for me, and was in production but needed guidance on business and on how to run her own business, which she has, you know, and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's not even saying like, hey, I'm going to be your mentor, but it's literally just seeing where you can guide somebody to do better than what they're doing, and to give them the confidence, I think, is a better way of saying it, to take the step and to be bold and to say, no, I'm going to be a boss today. I'm going to make these decisions. I'm going to do these things. And you know, if I can help people do that and understand more about themselves and their purpose, then all the better for it. So comics, non-comics, everybody's welcome.
Am I wrong in thinking that Shanre is like one of those people? Because I remember when he was booking at Melville, and then now, you know, he's obviously running Bioscope Sundays and that, and like I just see that evolution from like when he was working, you know, and how that's like working at Melville and how that's like led to where he is now.
100%. And I think more, Chandra, more with Nicholas was mentored there more from a comedy
Okay.
perspective. But I think also, like, even with the club stuff, I would work with him a lot. And I don't, what I mean? It's not necessarily mentoring, but more of him taking the initiative to want to do, and to want to manage the club and do those things. And,
Sure.
then us just working together, and exactly that, me guiding him in what to do and how to do it. But then him taking the reins, which I think, is really what mentorship is, allowing people to be.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We're gonna head on out because like we've done. Well, I need to head on out because unfortunately, yeah, we lost a little bit of time there, and I've double booked for the afternoon. But I do want to ask you one last question that I ask everyone on the podcast, and that
Mm-hmm.
is, what is a big mistake that you have learned an important lesson from?
Knowing when to shut the fuck up is a big one. Knowing that just, in certain instances, sometimes keeping quiet does give you the biggest benefit, and does allow you to respond better. Sometimes, we feel there's this hierarchy and you want to be, saying the most things and being the most vocal and being in the lead and, taking charge is the most important thing. But that can sometimes get you into a lot of cuck and can also give you responsibility that you don't want. So sometimes just keep quiet and ask your question later.
I think in general, like that's just good advice to me because like it's something I've learned over the years. Because I used to just talk my shit too publicly, too
Same.
loudly for no real reason, like, and it would just cost
Exactly.
me so much.
100%. And sometimes your opinion is not valid. Sometimes your opinion is not needed. It's not
100%.
wanted at that time, and growing up and learning that is really important, is that it's, don't take offense to it, but just know when to say what you need to say.
Amen. Cool. Well, thank you so much. This has been really cool. Like, I didn't know, how this would go because, like, as I said, like, I used to be a little antagonistic back in the day, and like, yeah, I'm grateful that you've given me your time and you've just been so dope about it. So, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. This has been a real pleasure, and thank you for breaking that glass wall down and taking the chance, because you never know what wounds time will heal.
Amen to that. But cool.
And we just need more peace and happiness also.
Yeah, and I think it's also just because I think we both see that like we both have good intentions.
100%, 100%. You know what I mean? If we can't move on from the past, then we'll just be stuck there.
Amen.